We're just back from finalising the top 10 bikes for the 2017 What Mountain Bike Trail Bike of the Year. We took a van on Brittany Ferries out to the mountains near Madrid and rode with Blacktown Trails just to nail down what we reckon are the best trail bikes for 2017. After months and months of testing, both here in the UK and over in the trails in Spain, we decided that the Canyon Spectral CF 8.0 EX is the 2017 Trail Bike of the Year from What Mountain Bike. As with many of the bikes in this year's test, the Spectral sits in the middle of Canyon's range of mountain bikes. With 140mm of rear-wheel travel, it sits below the 160mm enduro-focused Strive and above the more cross-country trail-orientated Neuron. If you notice the EX at the end of the name, well, this means that it's got 150mm of travel up front. The standard Spectral has 140mm. The extra 10mm of travel gives you that little bit of extra leeway when things get really rough and technical. Given that it's the same frame between the standard and the EX, it also gives you slightly slacker head angle too. Spectrals are available in aluminium and carbon fibre variants, and there's a number of options to suit a whole range of price points. The 8.0 sits pretty much bang in the middle, and as we'd expect from Canyon, there's a pretty darn good spec. Back in the day, you used to get amazing specs for the moon with Canyon, but with fluctuations in the foreign exchange rates, it's not quite as good as it ever was, but there's still some really great bits of kit on the bike. For example, there's a RockShox Pike fork. It's not the RC version, but the fully fledged RC-T3. There's also a really nice Monarch RT3 shock at the back. This is joined by a SRAM GX group set, which gives you obviously the nice spread of gears from 10 to 42 at the back. And this is mated with a race-face turbine crank. The bike rolls on a pair of DT Swiss M1700 wheels with a High Roller 2 front and a Minion SS rear in 2.3-inch flavours. The bike is brought to a stop by the Guide RS brake. The finishing kit is completed with ergon contact points, a RockShox Reverb stealth dropper post and a Renthal cockpit. We know that in recent times Canyon may have had some issues with their stock or their delivery options. However, we believe that the issues behind this have all been solved, so we're hoping that from now on things will be a lot smoother if you are buying direct from Canyon.
Canyon CF8 EX is our winning bike for a whole bunch of reasons, but primarily it's just because it's everything you'd look for in a carbon fibre bike with a bit of extra help when things get really technical and tough. For a start, the carbon fibre mainframe makes it one of the lightest bikes on test, despite also being one of the longest travel and most capable. And that's not always the case when you move to a carbon frame. You can sometimes take a hit on componentry, and in other cases the carbon frames just aren't that much lighter than the alloy frames, so it's more of a cosmetic than a structural move. But Canyon have got it absolutely on point with their fibre frame set. Often in past tests we've looked at Canyon and it's almost seemed like the bike's completely out of place in terms of the components it's carrying. This year it isn't as dramatically obvious, but the devil is definitely in the detail. If you look through specific spec indents, you've got a Guide RS brake on there rather than just a straight Guide R. That means you've got a swing link which gives you slightly more control and modulation when you're really deep into a corner or smashing through rocks and roots. There's a Pike on the front, but it's not just a Pike RC, it's a Pike RC T3. Obviously the headline piece of kit when you're going hardcore is the Renthal cockpit and fat bar out front. That's leverage, stiffness, and it's a nice bit of bling to show off to your mates in the car park. But the winning bike is always going to be more about the overall character than any specific component, and that's where the Canyon is just a beautiful, holistic piece of kit to ride. Wherever we were on the trail, whether we were clawing for grip up some of the really loose enduro-style climbs to get back up for another run through the camera chute, it was on point. You know, the bike felt poised, traction was unquestionable without us having to faff about with a shock or a lockout lever or anything like that. As soon as it's a simple setup routine and the bike just sits where you want it to in the travel. Aggressive riders may want to add a little bit of progression to the shock, but it's such an easy job to do with RockShox, that's not really an issue. The EX spec is also slightly slacker than the standard Spectral. That means you've got more stability and you've got more confidence when things are starting to potentially get away from you in the steeps. And you can hack this thing through corners. The tyre balance is bang on as well. You've got a grippy front tyre, you've got a semi-slick rear, so you've got speed where you need it, but grip when you absolutely need it. And it's a bike you can take to the limit with no vices. It's totally spot on for just riding hard, consistently, whether you're climbing, whether you're cruising, whether you're absolutely ripping it as hard as those big Renthal bars will let you. We're always going to get flack for direct buy bikes winning because they do have an advantage when it comes to bottom line. But the fact is, when it's a package as well put together as the Canyon Spectral, it's very hard to argue with. And if you don't want your local shop to suffer, go and buy your clothes there, go and buy your kit there, go and support their local rides. There's a whole load of other ways that you can still put money in their pockets to keep them open. So a state-of-the-art carbon chassis, absolutely bang-on contemporary hardcore geometry, a brilliant spec package, and all wrapped up in a nice black cardboard box straight from Germany, which means you're getting excellent value for money. That's why the Canyon Spectral EX8 is our winner.
Canyon have built a great all-round trail bike. Not only is it well mannered up the hills, but it's an absolute blast down the hill, with well-controlled rear suspension, a great setup in terms of spec list, and there's no real weak points in the whole thing. It's not too heavy, it's also well priced. While they've been available in Europe for quite a long time now, it's great to see that Australian and American viewers of this video will soon be able to get their hands on them themselves, as Canyon are now distributing into Australia and soon the US. The Spectral really is the full package when it comes to a trail bike. If you're not put off by the direct sales model, then we can't see any reason to look past it.